Hello and welcome to Silver Patch Notes Rundown, the League of Legends patch analysis by a Silver player for Silver players. I am your host and guide Smallsfry, and this time we're going through the patch 10.3 notes. Now you may notice that Riot changed up their patch notes site and the interface and all of that, which looks great. And I'm actually looking to set up a little bit of a change myself, in that I'm not going to be analyzing everything as we go through it. I'm just going to be skimming through real quick and talking more about the stuff that I do know about. There's a couple of those changes, but for the most part, I should be able to keep myself from droning on for too long, and hopefully we'll keep this short. Speaking of which, let's get into it. We'll skip the highlights and go straight to the champions. Akali got some nerfs, none of which were the nerf I was hoping would make it through, which is that with her W active, any hard CC would reveal her for the duration, so something like a Skarner ult, you'd actually see her while she's been ulted. That mostly pertains to stuff like Thrush Q and other skill shot based CC rather than targeted, but that didn't make it through, so it looks like they've got some other changes that basically make her feel worse without making her actually much worse than she already is. Next, Helios. He can no longer snipe you from across the map just because of his turret, and I mean literally across the map. I've seen too many clips of his turret marking people with the caliber mark, and then he just autos them from his own base for the kill. That's over, and so luckily everyone is rejoicing. Unfortunately, it doesn't fix the fact that he is unclear to play against. Hopefully we'll see some changes about that in the future. Azir, mana up, and his ult is wider. That's about it. Okay. Corki, they're changing his W, and I think this is with the package specifically. But basically the damage is up, the burn that it provides lasts longer, and now it also has a slow when it knocks you to the side. I think the 1.5 seconds might be a little bit long. If it's for the package version, then I'm kind of okay with it, because that's basically that's basically his ult. But still, I wouldn't be surprised to see this get nerfed just a tad. Anyway, Diana, basically, her mana goes down, so she can't spam spells in lane as much for wave clear, and then the damage on her W also went down, so her clear early isn't going to be as good. I know that her W is kind of important for clearing melee creeps, so it's going to be interesting to see how this affects her play rate. Echo, he's going to be a worse jungler. That's basically it. He deals less damage against monsters. Ezreal, some buffs that I saw people were excited about. So mana growth, 8 per level, so that means he gets roughly, 136 extra mana, so that's going to be a couple of Q casts. The more exciting one is the attack speed growth. Apparently, he hasn't been doing too well since they got rid of Klepto, so they're giving him some more consistent DPS options. So that's good to see. Galio, so they're increasing the number of ticks and the tick duration of his Q, but I think they're keeping the damage consistent. So it's just that it lasts longer, but it also it lasts longer, but it deals the same amount of damage. Is basically it. Anyway, moving on, Leona. So her damage has been reduced by, let's see, 20 on her W, or sorry, reduced by 5 per rank on her W, and it's reduced by 10 flat on her E. That doesn't fix the problem of she's too damn tanky with her W, Conqueror, and her W, Aftershock, and Stoneplate, just absolutely unkillable for the next 5 seconds, and so I'm hoping to see that get changed. These don't really do anything. Anyway, MF, her attack speed growth is lower. Oh yeah, wanting to jump back on that Ezreal change real quick. This amounts to about a dagger and a half at level 18. This change, 0.75, so a little more than a dagger. She loses about a dagger of stats. Moving on, Rumble. I don't know anything about Rumble, but they actually say here, clean whole numbers. They're rounding up his stats, and I guess rounding down his AD, rounding up his armor. I'm not going to comment on this because I don't know. This is the one that I know I can comment on that I'm most excited for. Sejuani is very auto attack reliant, especially at level 1, because you take her E first, so that you can mark the camp, get that stun, and rinse and repeat, and you can take your buff camps extremely fast just with that. So that bonus attack speed means her first camp she's going to take much quicker, and then following camps will all obviously benefit from that increased attack speed as well. And then here the nerf is simply that small monsters will also cause her passive to stop cooling down, I guess. They'll stop the cooldown, so her passive won't return while she's fighting them. So if she takes out like the large raptor first, the small raptors will still cause that timer to reset, and she won't necessarily have her passive up for the next camp. That will affect how healthy her clears are, but as they mentioned, we'll have more room to buff her in the future, which is something that I'm excited about. I've seen a couple buffs coming her way. Honestly, between this and the passive of value buff, I think that she's already in a much better spot than she was, and I think this is just something that they can mitigate, and they can play around with some numbers, maybe reduce the cooldown by a second or two, something like that. Let's see, Senha. The big thing to look at is the passive changes. So they've made it so that she is penalized. She still has that penalty for taking out cannon minions. She didn't have that penalty before. And then they're making it so that if she doesn't kill a minion, she's more likely to get a soul. They're trying to push her towards being a support and away from being an ADC, so that well, they're trying to do it without like hard nerfing her ADC ability. And then the other thing to note is if she's a support, the support items, she gets minion kill credit, so she's not as likely to get the soul just for using a relic stack. Set, the change I care about is the cooldown on his W. It's been up way too often, and so they increased it by 2 seconds early and 4 seconds late, so it's an additional half second per rank. Yeah, but basically it's now a much longer duration. Let's see, 8 seconds at 40% CDR means it was basically a 5-second cooldown, which is absolutely insane given that his shield is like a quarter or a third of his max HP, and it scales off of damage taken. So he inherently had an anti-burst tool that he had up every 5 seconds, which was way, way, way too strong. So out of all the changes, that one's good. Sona, she basically doesn't zoom as much. Unzoom, zoom. So instead of it being 25% self buff, it's a 20%, and then the AP scaling has also been reduced back to its original value. Next, so Yuumi now gets a percent current health ratio on her Q. They did nerf the base value, but not much early. So by late game, this should be actually pretty dang usable. So she does more than just heal people late game. Silences don't keep her from jumping to people after she leaves the silence. It doesn't put it on that cooldown. And then her E basically got a, I think it was, yeah. So it got a base value nerf and a AP ratio buff. So AP is even stronger on Yuumi. Next, jungle monsters. The big thing to note, so large monsters, you get more experience. The first one, that buff has been reduced, but that you should still be able to hit level 2 off of your first camp. And then the penalty that you get for basically funneling, that penalty that you get is now increased, and it's removed at 14 minutes rather than when you complete your jungle item. So that does mean that you can't just power farm to your jungle item and then funnel. Next, let's see. So experience is mainly balanced around Krugs, so the total experience you get is up, the total gold you get is up, but the big thing to note is the experience for large Krug is down, experience for medium and small Krugs is up. So you only get that benefit if you take the entire camp. If you choose to abandon it, whether you're trying to gank bot or top lane, right there, or if you're forced off of it for some reason, you lose a lot more if you do not take all of those small and medium Krugs. That's something to note. Let's see. Minor nerf there, and then this is a nice buff. So basically, your second clear, you're going to get more experience, so it's going to be easier to hit level 6 earlier, and it's going to be easier to keep up with your laners for those early levels. So it's not a, hey, I've ganked, but now I'm already 2 levels behind my side laners, or, sorry, 2 levels behind my solo laners. Instead, you should be able to keep up with them fairly well. Next, some VFX updates. Since they're not showing stuff, I'm not really going to discuss these too much, but the Nautilus update does look great. His passive auto attack looks like it has power behind it. I really like it. So I'll have to listen for the audio effects, but the visual effects at least look really good. ARAM changes, not going to comment. Bug fixes, there's a lot of them. I'm not really going to comment on those. And then they only had 2 Heartseeker skins, and a lot of people are complaining about it. I'm okay with that. Anyway, so that was a much more quick and dirty rundown than I used to do. Here is the patch highlight. I'll go ahead and leave that up for this finish. So basically, they had a few buffs, especially some good ones for Sejuani, in my opinion. And then a lot of nerfs, especially to champions that, for the past few patches, have been historically... Actually, yeah. Nerfs to their 3 most recent champions. So people were complaining about those. They're nerfed now. Akali got some nerfs that hopefully she'll be able to be adjusted around. But we'll see how that all turns out. Anyway, that has been the 10.3 patch notes. And so that's the rundown. I don't know how to end videos. Alright. And end of the rundown. I will see you guys out there on the Rift. Good luck. Have fun.